Hello, everyone. This is Jerry. The CDC has come out with some new numbers about the amount of people diagnosed with autism. 1 in 68 people, although they have a habit of fudging the numbers, so it's probably higher than that. When I was diagnosed at age 2 back in 1988, it was 1 in 1,000, if I remember correctly, although finding the exact number seems to be more difficult than I thought it would be, so I guess anyone that could find them, that'd be greatly appreciated. A lot of people are saying things like, well, it's because of better diagnosis and public awareness. And while I'm not going to deny that diagnosis and public awareness has gotten a lot better, the evidence is pretty clear that it's more than just that. I mean, there's a disturbing increase in pollution and toxic waste in the environment, toxic adjuvants in vaccines, additives in foods that don't belong there, along with the increases in autism. And I don't think it's a mere coincidence. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these people saying that autism is some kind of death sentence. And there are far, far worse things that these things have caused an increase in, like cancer, for example. But, I mean, it's not all sunshine, rainbows, and lollipops either. I mean, so the question is, now that the rates of autism have increased and will continue to increase, where do we go from here? More and more people are talking about finding a cure, and some of them are well-meaning people who are trying to do what they think is the right thing, but you also have Big Pharma seizing an opportunity to make a profit by pushing yet even more drugs that we don't need. Case in point, Autism Speaks is actually funding research into a medication designed to treat autism, which is just another example of how they refuse to listen to individuals with autism and their families. But I'll go even further into that little detail in another video. Good intentions or not, though, people pushing for a cure are completely missing the point. It might or might not be possible, but the question is, what do we do to help the people who are already living with autism right now? Research is good as long as it's actual research and not the kind of research Big Pharma and Autism Speaks are supporting. But the question is, what can we do for people living with autism right now? Because autism is a spectrum ranging from moderate to severe cases, the answer is a tad different for each individual. But what's worked for me and most other people are early intervention and full inclusion. The brain grows most rapidly in the first 5 years of life, and since autism is now being diagnosed earlier and earlier, it makes it easier to address a lot of the sensory issues and behavioral problems that come with autism. And because the autistic brain works very differently, interpreting social cues is more difficult for people like myself and most other people, as most people are able to intuitively pick up these cues through observation, while someone with autism needs to be taught how to interpret these cues as if they were learning a whole nother language. And part of this teaching is to interact with the general public through a system of gradual mainstreaming, which is going to result in some trial and error, but it's really the only way. And thanks to this, individuals with autism are now more successful than ever before, but we still have a long way to go. There are a lot of adults with autism that have received these and other treatments and have a lot to offer us, but are slipping through the cracks because they need support. But nearly all of the help they once received seems to go away once they grow up. I mean, there's this disturbing study in 2012 that I found out about. It said 1 in 3 adults with autism has no college education, technical training, or paid job experience, which is even higher than other disabilities. I'm not trying to scare anyone here, but something needs to be done about this. I mean, I myself have taken some college and hadn't graduated yet, in part due to math being an obstacle, and also partly due to pressures from work and taking care of my sick father. May he rest in peace. I've held down a job for 6.5 years, received a promotion in less than a year, and have a good reputation among my fellow employees as well as even management, really. But even I struggle with some things on the job. I mean, when I'm dealing with customers, I often misinterpret certain social cues, and they can sometimes misinterpret my own actions as me being rude. And you know what? Sometimes I can go on overload. And there's been times where I've come very, very close to having a full-blown meltdown. I mean, I have a good friend of mine who's also on the autism spectrum who lost his job because of customers misinterpreting what he said. Now, because of a simple misunderstanding, and the fact that he didn't have anyone in his life in his corner. Now, I was getting ready for work when this already happened and didn't know until he showed up on my doorstep and explained what happened. You see, a challenge a lot of people with high-functioning autism face is that because a lot of us seem normal, quote-unquote, a lot of people, including employers and customers, may not know or understand. Now, there are unfortunately some people who don't want to understand, but thankfully there are plenty of people that can still be reached, and that's my goal of these videos, is to continue what so many others have already done, continue upon this work to educate the public. I mean, because we've come a long way. There are still many misconceptions, and with more people diagnosed than ever before, this task is becoming all the more crucial.